Welcome. My name is Kyle Weaver, and I am the new co-host of the Citadel GrayLine. I'm here with Jeff Hartsell. We're here at the Charleston Sports Pub in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, right off of 17. And Jeff, we were just talking about it on Facebook Live. We've had some great Citadel memories of the last 2 years, and I think everybody's ready for football to be back and to see what the Dogs have in store for us this year. And all the support that the Citadel has really produced in the last 2 years, and ready to build off of that.
I'm excited. The last 2 years have really been a peak time for Citadel football. When you look back at their history, 2 straight Southern Conference championships.
Yeah,
they've only won 4 in their history, so you guys won half of the conference championships. So
and I think it was like only a few teams have had winning seasons back to back as well. I think when we had our first winning season under Kevin Higgins, that was one of the things that we preached all offseason, that not very many Citadel teams have had winning seasons back-to-back. So being able to win 2 conferences, championships back-to-back was pretty awesome, and something special to be a part. We got our rings up here for everybody on Facebook Live. And if you're not on Facebook Live, please join us. I think that's going to be a great thing for this show, and we're excited to have it. But we'll move on to the next segment. Welcome back to the Citadel GrayLine. My name again is Kyle Weaver. I'm here with Jeff Hartsell. We're here at the Charleston Sports Pub in Mount Pleasant. We are blessed this year. We have 7 stations that are going to be airing this show. We're very excited about that. And this year also we're going to have our 250th show during our homecoming weekend show. Jeff's been a part of every single show that we have had. And this is my first show, so take it easy on me, guys. Just learning the ropes, but hopefully I won't be too bad. But we're excited about that, and that's going to be something big for us. Here in Charleston, we're on WOHM FM on 96.3. In Columbia, we're on the Dove, and it's 1620. Then on Fountain Inn, we have a station, 1510, Georgetown, 1400, Greenville, we're on 92.9, Spartanburg, we're on 660, and in Woodruff, where the famous Aaron Miller is from, we're on 95.9. So if you're in those areas, please join us there. We're very excited to have some of those guys, and appreciate the support.
Of course, you can listen online, crmsports.com.
Yep.
And Facebook Live.
It's a new addition to this year's show. So plenty of ways to watch the show, and please share and get some stuff going for us. But like I said, this is my first show. The last 5 years, I've been on the Citadel Bulldogs team, and been a part of that. Great experience for me. So I'm excited to join Jeff, who's been writing so many great articles on the Citadel football, and building our program.
Kyle, one thing I always wonder about is Kevin Higgins was your first coach. He recruited you.
Yep.
I thought he was a good coach, a great man, and did a good job recruiting. What was the difference when Mike Houston came in that enabled you to take that next step?
Definitely agree with you. Coach Higgins did a great job. Great man. Guy who recruited me, stood out to me. Even with the records not being there, he was one of those guys. Coach Bodine as well. But the biggest difference, with Coach Houston is when he came in there, things changed. Offense and defense. We had different meeting rooms. Everything was different. There was nothing the same. Our practices were just a whole different ball game as far as intensity. The coaches' expectations were so high. They came in from winning getting to the national championships, and that's what they expected here, and that's what they still expect now. And having those expectations, kind of got us all to rise to those levels. And I remember the first practice was just helmets for the first 3 days, every year. And we were all so sore, and we're like, dude, there's no way we're going to keep this up. And every day it was just there's no way that today's going to be the day that they're going to take it easy on us, and they never took it easy on us. And even in the season, we're like, dude, all these other teams are in helmets, or they're in half pads or something like that, you know, we're going full steam ahead, full pads and everything, and you know that's even with the wins. You know, the wins, you know, you think, oh, if we win, we're going to get it easier. No, if it wins, it's just, you know, we're going to go full pads because, you know, we have an opportunity in front of us that we can't pass up, and you know, very blessed to play for those guys. Great coaches, Coach Thompson, Coach Boyd, Coach Houston.
And we can't forget that Coach Higgins was dealing with peak App State and peak Georgia Southern.
No doubt.
Even though he had some success against those teams late in his tenure. How different do you think the league is now? Is it that much different?
I think the league's coming back. You know, I think, you know, Wofford, I mean, if you look at them last year, they had their D-line was all freshmen and sophomores. And they were all 300-plus pound guys. And, you know, I think they're going to be really hard to beat. You know, and you look at Furman, just got a great coaching staff from Charleston Southern, basically, besides the head coach. And, you know, look at, you know, the Chattanoogas and the Sanfords, you know, they always have their ups and down years, but overall they're always very competitive. You know, I think Weston's very competitive. I think we're getting back, you know, Mercer, if you've ever been to that campus, I mean, it's beautiful. They're in the heart of Georgia. You know, it's not going to be hard to recruit Georgia, you know, being in Mercer. So, you know, I think the league's definitely heading in the right direction. I think, definitely there was a drop-off initially. And we still might not be back into the peak of Charleston or the SoCon sports, but you know, again, the Citadel. I mean, we be their FBS team, so you know, I think, you know, there's more really solid teams right now, and the bottom of the league is very strong.
I don't know if you were on the Citadel team that went up to App and scored 50 points.
Yeah, I wasn't there, but I was on the team. I didn't travel to the game, but I mean.
And then they beat Georgia Southern at home.
I mean, the last 2 years those teams were in the conference, we beat them. So, you know, and I think we might beat Georgia Southern the last 2 times we played them when we beat App. Or, I mean, it was crazy. So, but, you know, they have the facilities, the money, and all that good stuff that's needed. And, you know, I think, you know, like Coastal Carolina, we beat them in their last, you know, season, you know, but they had the money again. And teams like that. And I think Liberty's moving up as well, even though they're really not too competitive. Or, you know, they're in the top 25.
They want to move up.
But, you know, they have the money to move up. So, we'll see about that. But, you know, overall, the Citadel experience, you know, coming into a losing team, losing program, and being able to be a part of turning that around was pretty awesome.
Amazing.
And, you know, something that I take into the business world is just trying to say, you know, what was the culture differences, you know, noticing the difference in leadership styles. I know I had 3 head coaches, you know, so it was definitely a lot of different leadership styles, and even though Coach Thompson and Coach Houston are very similar in their styles, you know, it's still different. And, you know, being able to see that, you know, definitely been able to take that into the business world and, you know, use that and learn from that. You know, I think I watched a documentary last night on the new coach for Northwestern, Flex is his name, I think. You know, and he speaks a lot about his culture, even in the business world. And I think, you know, that's something that makes athletes special in the business world.
Sure.
So, all right, we'll move on to the next segment. Tavern. Welcome back to the Citadel GrayLine. Again, I'm Kyle.
When you go to segment.
Welcome back to the Citadel GrayLine. We're here at Charleston Sports Pub in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. We got some great prizes here that we're going to be giving away. So you should join us next week if you can. We're going to do that weekly. We're excited about that. And thank you to Charleston Sports Pub. I'm here with Jeff Hartsell, who works for the Post and Courier. What we're going to talk about in this segment is we're going to talk about departures from last year's team. We're going to talk about some NFL guys and some guys that, you know, as we all know, Dean Delaney went to Miami. So we're going to talk about that. First, let's start off with Tyler Renew with the Atlanta Falcons. You know, I think that's the biggest story for Citadel fans and the Citadel family. Tyler's doing great with the Falcons. I actually went up to watch a preseason practice with him. He's doing great. And but obviously I think you've been keeping up with him pretty well. And
well, what a great story! And every time you write about Tyler Renew, the clicks come. People love Tyler Renew. They love his story, raised essentially by his grandparents because of his difficult childhood circumstances and coming from a private school and doing so well at the Citadel, and now having a shot to make the Falcons as an undrafted free agent. So really a great story, and he's done well to make it as far as he has so far. It's him and another fullback, Derek Coleman, vying to make the team.
He's a veteran, if I'm correct.
Derek Coleman
How long has
is
he
a
been
veteran.
around?
4 or 5 years. He played with the Seahawks. He's an interesting story himself. He's deaf.
Okay.
So he's a deaf NFL player.
Definitely
and Tyler,
see some ESPN things about that.
Yeah, Tyler told me Derek has been great with him and helping him out and showing him the way, a veteran helping a rookie along. So those two have become friends. So it's going to be interesting to see. There's only one cut this year from 90 to 53 man. So Tyler stuck around quite a long time now. The cut will be coming up soon, so it will be interesting to see if he can stick on the 53-man roster, make that practice squad, something like that.
I've seen some great articles written about him, saying that he's doing a great job. I went up and visited him. I don't think, while I was there, he caught every pass thrown to him, and he was, looked good in all the drills that I saw. And, he seems very positive. He's very critical of himself, but, he seemed in a great spirit. And, I'm keeping up with him on Snapchat. And, man, that guy works hard.
No one works harder.
On his off days, he's in there getting, taking advantage of what the Falcons offer with the treatment that, maybe we didn't have at the Citadel. But, he is taking full advantage of it. And no matter what, he's going to be able to look back and say he gave it his all. And I know the Citadel family is super proud of him.
If he winds up getting cut by the Falcons, I think he's done enough to make some other team take notice. A team. It's pretty unclear what kind of role the fullback is going to play in the Falcons' new offense. In the past years with Patrick DeMarco from USC, the fullback played a pretty big role with the Falcons. But they have a new offensive coordinator, Steve Sarkisian from Alabama, came in, and it's kind of unclear what kind of role the fullback is going to play. I think Tyler was in only 2 snaps on the last preseason game. So, but if he can make a mark on special teams or something like that,
that's all it takes. Tyler's one of those guys. He's got a perfect physique for special teams, being a fast guy as well as being, I think he's up to like 230, 240 now, so he would be a great on kickoff, just has the speed but the size as well. Another guy that, had some NFL opportunities is Tevin Floyd, obviously one of the best linebackers that I've ever played with. He had some great success at the Citadel. Now he went to the Cardinals. He got cut, and then he went back to the Cardinals, and he was doing very, very well. Spoke to him when I actually was at the practice in Atlanta with visiting Tyler, and basically said that he had a hamstring issue, but he looks forward to getting back, and he says there is some interest there. So hopefully some good things will come to that. I think he's caught some eye again. Like we said about Tyler, he had some good practices and caught some eye of some teams, and hopefully they'll pick up on him, and we can get another guy. Another thing back to Tyler is Andre Roberts is on that Atlanta Falcons team as well. That was cool to see him there, and I think Andre and Tyler. I think Andre's been great for Tyler. Having a guy with a similar background. Coach D connected them to, and
I think Andre's going into his 8th year maybe. So he's carved a really nice NFL career.
He's known as one of the best punt returners in the league, and had a big one in the preseason. So I think he's poised for another great season.
He still holds his camps for military kids all across the world, really. So still does a great job giving back to his military background as well.
Definitely.
Tevin is a guy I'd like to see give the CFL a crack.
Yeah.
If he can't make a team in the NFL, I think he's a guy that could succeed up there. And there's more and more opportunities around the world as Alex Glover is showing us. He's traveling the world playing football, France, Australia, Europe. So you can while you're young, why not?
Why not? Yeah, exactly. And Tyler, I think Tyler has done a great job of, building, his image off the field as well. I think he has a brand called Blessed Beyond Belief or something like that.
Triple B, something like that.
Yeah, so I think that's right, and you guys go check that out. I think he sells T-shirts, hats. He's got some Citadel T-shirts, some Vin Living T-shirts. I'm sure he's got some Falcon stuff on there too. Go check that out for Tyler and support him. And, I think he's doing a great job of setting himself up for a, post-football career, which we hope football lasts for a good long time. But another guy is Dean Delaney. I'm talking about a guy who made an impact as well. The guy who, was a ball hawk for us, my years there. Big-time player, big-time playmaker, now moved on to Miami. Which I know, Citadel fans are super thrilled for him and totally understanding of his move in his 5th year. He graduated from the Citadel, so he was able to move to Miami without a penalty, and we're super happy for him. And, I've read some great articles about how he's taking over the cornerback room and just, doing great. And I think Madden gave him like a 92 rating. I know I saw that on Facebook, some people joking with him. But, it's one of those guys who's going from FCS to FBS, taking over a meeting room, taking over a position group, and really doing well.
And, like you say, I think any right-thinking Citadel fan would have no problem with what D did. He graduated from the Citadel. He gave his all for 4 years. It was an All-American player, and coming from his background, a tough background down in Whale Branch, which is in Beaufort County, didn't have much growing up. For him to earn that Citadel ring and a degree, really outstanding work by D. And now he has a chance to raise his profile with NFL scouts at a higher, which is no doubt a higher level.
Oh, no doubt.
Covering those receivers in the ACC is going to be a whole different world than it was in the Southern Conference. And if he can prove himself, I think he would have got drafted out of the Citadel. But if he can prove himself on that letter,
takes him up a few rounds.
No doubt.
Yeah, takes away that question, can he play, with the best, takes that opportunity away, and, it's make or break, and I think he's going to do a great job. So we're cheering for all 3 of those guys, and we do have some other, Citadel Bulldogs that are still experimenting with professional football. We still have Mario Cooper. We still have Mitchell Jeter. Both of those guys are CFL, I believe, kind of in and out of that. So, they're continuing to train, continue to push, just waiting for that opportunity. I know both of those guys are great guys, but also great players. So, as a Citadel fan, we're all cheering for those guys and look forward to keeping up with those guys. All right.
We'll take a break
and be right back. Welcome back to the Citadel GrayLine. Again, I'm Kyle Weaver. We're here with Jeff Hartsell, a guy who's done a great job covering Citadel sports during my time, and I think he said he's worked for Post and Courier for 30 years, covering a little bit of everything. So we're very blessed to have him here with us. In this segment, we're going to talk about freshmen. You just posted an article this week that I read talking about how the Citadel, with those departures, which we talked about in the last segment, they have a lot to fill, with good teams, good players come and go. They have a lot of players they have to fill spots for. I know on the offensive line, which is what I played, Isaiah Pinson left, Nick Jeffries, both first-team players, myself and Ryan Bednar, who were in the interior guys. So we lost, you could say 4 starters right there.
Yep.
So, Jeff, tell me about some of the freshmen who are going to have an impact. Let's learn more about them so when Saturday comes along, we can be prepared and know who we're watching.
Well, there's 9 true freshmen on the 2 deep, which is a pretty big number, I think, for the depth chart. 2 of them, as you mentioned, are going to be starting on the offensive line. John Barrett Lewis, 6'2", 295 from North Carolina.
That's a big boy.
And then Jonathan Cole, 6'1", 295. He's also from North Carolina. So that's your left guard and your right guard. And you can tell us how big is that role in the triple option, and what kind of transition from high school are these guys facing?
You know, I'm an offensive lineman, so I'm going to be biased here, but I think offensive line is one of the toughest positions to come into and play as a freshman. You know, most big guys, you know, who are 295 and you know, that size in high school, they don't play against a lot of guys who have that size as them. So they just overpower people. The technique doesn't necessarily have to be there. You know, where you're a cornerback, you know, you still have to have the, you know, the instincts for that. And you know, the big guys, we just overpower people. And I was the exact same way. You know, it took me, you know, took me a while. My redshirt year, my next year, before I really started to focus on technique. And, you know, Coach Boyd did a great job with me, turning me around as a project. But, you know, those guys, you know, they got some work, you know, as far as it's tough.
Unless you're exceptional as an offensive lineman, you're redshirting.
Yeah.
I mean, Tyler Davis is the exception.
Right.
Most guys are redshirting that first year.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, that's a big year to get your body right, you know, to turn, you know, a lot of those guys who come in, you know, maybe they're not built. They're 295, but they're not built the right way. You know, so it gives Coach D, again, we talked about the impact that he had earlier on our Facebook Live segment. You know, it gives him an opportunity to really get those bodies right and get them ready for the season. But, you know, you asked about the impact of the guard position. I think, you know, the guard position is huge. Again, I'm biased to that position as well. I was the guard. But, you know, I think all the offensive linemen are huge. I think, you know, as we've learned, the offensive line wins games. I mean, that's you know, that's how you got to put it in the triple option. You know, if you don't get movement off the line, you know, if you're not getting that 6 inches for the running backs to cut, it makes it very, very tough for the running backs. Makes their cuts hard, and you know, just slows down the offense in a rushing attack like we are. You know, you have to have the offensive lineman, and but you know, we have one of the best, if not the best, offensive line coaches in the country, and Coach Boyd. You know, I have no doubt that he's going to have those guys ready, and you know, I look forward to seeing 295 out there, because you know, I don't think we've had that size before.
Yeah, they've made an effort in recruiting to go a little bit bigger, and you can see some of the weights, 295, 295 on the defensive line as well. John Wesley Whiteside, 310. So they've tried to get a little bit bigger. Tell us about Prince Howard Whitaker and Attorney Gallman. These guys have not played a whole lot in their career, but they've been around. Are they ready?
Yeah, I mean, both of those guys, first of all, are very young players. Both of those guys had the opportunity to be around people like, they're both tackles. Some of them
Isaiah Pinson,
Nick Jeffries. They got to see those guys work. They got to work with, you know, they've been in our system for a year. I just can't speak how big that is. I think the attorney's been there for 2 years. So both of those guys are guys that have been around for enough time. Prince Howard is a great athlete, definitely has some athletic ability that you need to play tackle. I think he finished second or third in long put for shot put, for Citadel track in the SoCon. So, I mean, it's just one of those guys that just kind of, you know, has a little bit of athletic ability that it's needed to succeed. Attorney Gallman is one of those guys where he can do it. He can, and he is capable of doing it. And he's just one of those guys, and, you know, I was one of those guys as well. You just got to get him to do it on a regular basis. You got to, you know, really, you know, get him. I mean, you're playing a triple option, you have to be ready to hit every play. You have to be willing to get down and dirty, and you know, that's what I think Coach Boyd's really been working with him on, and Prince as well, is, you know, getting that be that bad guy, you know, be that guy who's super tough, he won't take anything type guy, and you know, just be one of those hard-working guys who's going to show up to work.
Isaiah Pinson he'd take it to the edge, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah Pinson, you know, Sam Fry, you know, those guys. I mean, you want to talk about guys who Coach Boyd, you know, that's the definition of what an offensive lineman, a triple option is. I mean, those guys, both of those guys, I mean, they wanted to do great. They wanted to really hit people in the proper way, and they wanted to, you got to be careful how we say that these days, but, you know, they wanted to, you know, be dirty. They want not dirty in a sense that they wanted to get down and work hard and, you know, do the right thing and play well. And, so, again, being around Isaiah Pinson is one of those guys for those two guys, and Nick Jeffries as well, is going to be great for their development.
Yeah, so those two freshmen are key, and also with Prince Howard and Attorney Gallman, first-time starters as well. And then elsewhere on the offense, Keontae Sessions is a freshman A-back who looks like he'll get some time. And then at the B-back spot, which to my mind is really key because it was set up for Evan McField to slide right into Tyler Renews. And when he went down in spring practice, what a heartbreaking moment for the kid from Goose Creek, and a tough moment for the program because that left a huge void at B-back. Now they've had to move quarterback Brandon Rainey in there. They've got a freshman, Brandon Berry, who's about 235. That looks like he's going to get some snaps, and Lorenzo Ward is the backup right now.
If you want to go farther back, we had Isaiah Smith. I mean, one of those guys. Like we were looking so dominant.
It was all set up
at B-back, and it was like that was the position that we need to be deep at because they get so many carries, they take such a big beating, and we had it set up. And both of those guys. Are unfortunate stories, and you hate to see that for your teammates. But and I think Isaiah Smith is still around the program. He's just making a decision for his health in the long term. And I think everybody still loves and supports him. And Evan McField is just a sad story there as well.
Last year the offense was so based on Tyler Renew. You remember that Samford game, 285 yards or so. This year, I think it's going to be a little different. I think Cam Jackson, in the triple option, it's hard to pick one guy and say, I'm going to get him the ball because the ball is supposed to go where it's supposed to go, right? Where the defense tells it to go.
It's all reads.
Yeah. But they've got to get Cam Jackson the ball any way they can. He is so good.
Yeah, I mean the coaches, they can game plan. Then when they sit in the meeting room, last year our goal was to get the ball to Cam, as well. He I think averaged some crazy amount of yards.
8 yards a carry.
I mean, we knew that we needed to get him the ball, but again, like you said, you have to make the correct reads, and you can't force anything in the triple option because, if you do, bad things happen, and you got to stay on track. You got to stay ahead of the chains. And they're going to try to get the ball to Cam, and I'm sure we're going to see some unique ways. And Coach Thompson and the staff, they're going to, game plan that. However, I still think the B-back position is going to carry the most of the load, and it all depends on how teams adjust to our triple. We got some new coaches at Furman. We've had Coach Thompson for a year. They're going to make some adjustments, and we're going to have to make some adjustments, and we'll see how that plays.
They had some new formations in the scrimmages this year, so I think Coach is planning to make some adjustments as well.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it's one of those deals where I also think we added a lot of wide receivers from the defensive side. A lot of great athletes are now going to play wide receiver. So hopefully we'll get a little bit of throwing in there. I know every year we bag Coach Thompson and the staff, but again, you got to stay ahead of the chain, and we got to be able to, when we throw, capitalize. And last year, we had a great season, but we didn't necessarily capitalize in some of the games we should have, and I think that would have been something that would have taken us to the next level if we could have, and definitely made some of those close games a little bit more out of reach for the other team. So we will be right back. In the next segment, we're going to talk about the schedule and how that fares for the Citadel Bulldogs.
On the Citadel.
It's not. Just want to give a quick shout out to Paul back here for showing up today. He was one of the first guys here. He was here before the show was even started. We got Joe.
Some more Citadel fans back here.
Yeah, and Sophie and Jack. Those guys are some local guys. Appreciate you guys showing up and showing some support. And I think both of these guys have been diehard Citadel fans for a very long time, been around the program, and are very excited for this season. And then, of course, my mom's on here, so we won't even have to mention more than that. But Caleb Bennett, Presley, all those guys, we appreciate that. The Bennett family, another one of my favorite Citadel peoples right there. And Mike Rentz and Murdoff, we appreciate you guys sharing the link. We really think this show is going to take off, so we appreciate that. And, we're excited to watch those two, Mike and Murdoff, take the field this Saturday. And I will be there. And, if anybody knows my dad, he was the loudest Citadel Bulldog fan. So I'm going to have to take his place and continue the support for these guys. And I'm excited for that.
Yeah. When's the last time you watched the game from the stands?
Man, yeah. Not good. Go ahead.
She's waiting for your order.
Bacon, chicken Alfredo.
No.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever watched, maybe my senior year in high school, obviously, when I came up, I made a lot of those games.
Right.
And I live 2 hours from here, so it's not a big deal for those. So I came up to a lot of those games, and that was a good time. And my grandma lived up here, so we came up after our Friday night game, watch film Saturday morning, would drive up, watch it, spend Saturday night with grandma. So
it's going to be different at the stadium this year, as you know. No bleachers on the visitor's side until the third game, and then a beer garden.
Right.
Are you going to pay a visit?
I think that might be a little bit out of my price range. I think they have like a certain amount of number that they're going to let in there, right? And I'm sure those Citadel alumni, they're gonna pay. But I'm really excited to tailgate. Like these Citadel guys back here. So loyal. And I'm just excited to be able to spend some time with those guys, get to know those guys more than just a football side of things. So really excited about that, and we'll go from there. But welcome back to the Citadel GrayLine. In this segment, we're going to talk about the Citadel Bulldogs schedule. And just real fast on Facebook Live, I want to show this really cool picture that John Rawl came up with. This is a schedule. And it's pretty cool. We got our conference rings over here. We got the schedule. If you guys show up next week, we will be giving out free copies of these, and we're excited about that. But Jeff, let's talk about the schedule. We're going to talk about some things that stand out to me. I like how it sets up for the Citadel. I like that we start off with Newberry and Presbyterian and East Tennessee State. Those are some teams that on paper haven't been as dominant in the past. Again, it's like South Carolina and us. You can't take anybody too lightly, and you never know what can happen with young guys, but I like how that sets up for us.
I was on the phone with the Newberry coach this morning and one of their best players, Baptiste Staggers from Fort Dorchester High School, and this game for them is like Citadel playing South Carolina.
Right.
It's their bowl game. It's their Super Bowl. It's their chance to make a name for themselves. A lot of those kids are from the Charleston area.
Right.
It's a chance to come back home. And a kid from St. John's, he's got 100 people coming to the game.
100.
Darius Clark, I think his name is, who plays running back for Newberry. So it's a big deal for them. Newberry won 10 games last year.
Okay.
So it's
they've been
no joke.
Yeah, they've been a great D2 program. So, I think the video went viral, especially with some of my friends on Facebook about him saying, they're opening the season with the second best team in the state, and I could not agree more with that. I think we've earned it.
Folks in let's see, Charleston Southern, Wofford, and Coastal Carolina might have something to say.
I think there was some comments from Wofford, saying nice playoff run. But
I talked to Coach Knight about that this morning, and what he meant was Citadel's been the second most successful team in the state over the last couple of years.
Right.
And there's no question about that. Clemson won a national title. Citadel's won 2 straight conference championships. So on their level, the Citadel's been the second most successful team in the state.
Yeah.
The last couple of years.
I'm with it. I like how it starts off. I'm excited to be home in Charleston for the first 2 weeks. I'm excited to be able to be a part of that. And then after that, that start, we have 8 SoCon games in a row. Because the SoCon has grown a little bit, that seems to be kind of a common theme, in the last few years, is where you have so many SoCon games in a row instead of breaking them out. But so it's going to be tough. The SoCon, like we talked about earlier on Facebook Live, it's getting back to the old times where it used to be like the best league in the country. 4 Division I AA,
4 playoff teams last year.
So I think it's just continuing to get stronger and stronger. Some of those big games, you got Wofford. I think that's the team.
This 4-game stretch,
right?
Sanford, Mercer, Wofford at Chattanooga.
Right. Woo. I know. You talk about Mercer, Wofford, Chattanooga. Those are the teams that, and Sanford as well. Like you said, those are the teams that just have been dominant in the past. And I think Wofford was picked number 1. Is that correct?
That's right. Citadel number 2. That Sanford game last year at Johnson-Haga Stadium was just insane.
Yeah.
Cam Jackson's big run sort of saved the day for the Bulldogs, but it still took a field goal banging off the upright.
Right.
For the Citadel to
talk about
win.
That Chattanooga game, when talk about that and just, the
first
time
game
the Citadel
with Jordan Black,
beat them.
Jordan Black coming to the rescue.
Being
Mercer.
So big at Mercer on a Thursday night, opening the season, going up. I forgot how much we went up, but it was a big lead. And then, for the second year in a row, I think for the second time at Mercer, both times we played at Mercer, we've had big leads and almost blown them. So, that was a big game for us to start off the season right, and, to do that without Dom Allen. Jordan Black stepped up big for us there.
We haven't talked a lot about the defense, and here's a chance to with that Wofford game. You're on the sideline when Khalil Williams makes that pitch 6 touchdown. Right. What's the feeling like when you realize what had happened there?
It's kind of like, wait, what? It's just kind of like, because, we're making our adjustments. We're, especially in that game, we're trying to figure out what's going on. Coaches, we're trying to tell the coaches what we're seeing and all that stuff. And, we hear a big play. We look up, and Khalil's running in the end zone. And we're like, wait, what? And, we kind of figured out really quick what happened. And, what a play by what a great player. Mm-hmm. And then, even this, we had to settle for a field goal in overtime. Mm-hmm. And then the defense came up big.
I think Joe Crochet forced the fumble.
Yeah, and, another one of my great friends, Joe Crochet, comes up big like he always does. I don't know how that guy gets so many forced fumbles, but, he's got a nose for the ball and came up big with that, fumble recovery. So that was great. Great game, one of those things. And, I wish the playoff game could have gone a little different, but, look, they got some great young players on that Wofford team, and
their defense is going to be every bit as good this year as it was last year. Their quarterback is back. I think the Citadel's defense has a chance to be just as good as it was last year. We were talking about freshman John Wesley Whiteside, the nose guard. He's going to play 310 pounds. Aaron Brawley, linebacker who's been converted to defensive end, one of the most physical freshmen, Coach Thompson said, that he's seen come along. Jalen Stevens, the grad transfer from UConn, who went to Goose Creek High School, he's going to play some at the cap position where Joe Crochet did such a great job last year.
Big shoes to fill there.
Yep, no question. And then the secondary is stacked with seniors, even though they lost Dee Delaney. This kid, Wally Wilmore, freshman from York SC, which is close to Rock Hill.
Yeah.
One of the more athletic freshmen he's seen in a while. So, I think the defense has a chance to be good.
Yeah, the defense, Coach Harrell and his staff has done a great job with that. I think we have been so successful because of our defense, and I don't think that's going to change. And especially with some of these young guys that are going to be playing on the offensive side of the ball, the defense is going to have to be great.
Yep.
And then, to end the season, I think, I'm very excited for this game. We're going back to Clemson. It's going to be fun. That's actually the second time in 4 or 5 years we played the defending national championships. We played national champions. We played Florida State with Jameis Winston right after that. Talk about experience. That was awesome. I think Clemson's going to be the same way. I will be there. I know we're as young Citadel guys, we're already talking about our tailgate we're going to have there, already starting to plan, everything that we're going to have there. So I think, we're all super excited about that and looking back to get into Death Valley.
Let me ask you this question. As a player, the timing of that game, the South Carolina game obviously was a huge boost.
Right.
Last year, the North Carolina game came late in the season as they're getting ready for the playoffs, and that game did not go as well. How do you feel about the timing for a team that hopes to be in the playoffs to have to play that game right before the playoffs start? Is there any issue at all?
Those games, it's going to be, there's going to be positives and negatives to wherever you play them. Like we played Florida State early in the season, there's going to be issues with that. Are you going to get guys hurt? Are you going to, for the rest of the season? You play them later in the season, you have a season like we did last year where we're guaranteed a playoff spot, then you are like, well, don't play anybody because you don't want to get them hurt for the playoffs, or so there's always going to be those positives.
Yep.
It's never going to be a game, a situation where, there's always going to be some negatives. But I think the North Carolina game, it was one of those things where we got down early, made some mistakes. They had some great players, and took advantage of them, and it was kind of one of those things where I feel like as a team, we already knew we were in the playoffs. We wanted to win. We felt like we could win, and I would.
Did it impact the next game?
The next game we had a week off. We had the bye, so we had Thanksgiving off because of our success. So no, I don't think that did, and maybe it was good. We went up there and got embarrassed at North Carolina, and nobody likes to get embarrassed, even though they're way bigger than us. Nobody wants to go up there and get embarrassed. So maybe that made us practice harder. You never know. And when you're playing a team like Wofford, or it was either Wofford or Charleston Southern. Like, we don't like either of those guys. So I don't think we needed any motivation. I don't think win or lose, we were going to come to practice ready to practice. The coaches were going to have us ready, and we were going to be ready to practice. So I don't think it had a big impact. But it's one of those deals where there's always going to be that risk of injury, and people are always going to have problems with it, but as a player, I look forward to those games. Again, like I talked about South Carolina, I got a bunch of people who go there. I got a bunch of friends who go to Clemson, and what a cool experience to be able to play in front of them, and for them to be able to come to my games and not have to drive all the way down to Charleston and kind of give up their college life. So it was really cool.
Very good.
So we will be right back for our last segment, in which we're going to talk about this week's game against Newberry and what we can expect from our Citadel Bulldogs. Just want to say hello to everybody on Facebook Live. Thanks for tuning in with us. Please share. We're trying to get this show to go big time. So, Facebook Live is a
maybe get our viewers into the double digits.
Yeah. Hey, please send questions. I'll take a look to see if anybody else is tuned in. Please send questions. We would love to answer that. We'd love to get interactive with you guys and see what you guys have. And Jeff has the current experience of being with the Bulldogs here every week, and then I've played with a lot of these guys, so I can bring that unique experience for you guys. So please ask questions, please add on. We'd love to get you guys involved, and we'd love to see you guys show up here to the Charleston Sports Pub as well, show some support. And
Kyle, I've heard that John Wesley Whiteside is the funniest Bulldog to come along in a while. Who was your funniest teammate?
Oh man, there's a ton of funny guys that I played with. I mean, I don't think we had anybody that funny from what I hear. I hear that guy is just off the chain. But, Mitchell Jeter, always messing around.
Yep.
We have guys like Mark Thomas, who is a super quiet guy, but when he spoke, it was just like the funniest thing. Man, who else is funny? Russell Hubbs is a big character.
Oh, really?
Jalen Lampkin is a big character. Those guys are funny. So, I mean, there's just so many characters on that.
Jonathan King.
Jonathan King. Everybody roasts him on Twitter. That guy is a character as well. There's so many guys that are funny. Like, I'm probably forgetting some. I'm probably gonna think about this question later and really regret.
Well, we're joined by the King here, John Rawl, King of all media.
That's right.
That's right, and that's why I'm here partially so we can learn the fun of having a third person joining you.
Cool.
So when you have a third person, scoot them right here in the middle, and both of you still need to come, even though it's uncomfortable, come as close as you possibly can to me, because we only have so much room to work with on the camera.
Looks like we got some great food over there from the Charleston Sports Pub.
What did you order?
I ordered the bacon chicken Alfredo with grilled chicken on it. So.
And you come here at night and order stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, they got great wing specials here. I think it's like 20. I forget the deals. I mean, I can look over there, but every night they have somebody that do trivia here. They have a great environment. They got some arcade games over there for you if you want to do that. They always have sports. They have, at least 20 TVs. It's in a great spot in Mount Pleasant in the town center. The food is great. The pasta is awesome. I get that pretty much every time I come here. The burgers look great. I've heard that, and the wings.
I see they've got Jadeveon Clowney's jersey right here behind us, which I guess, Jeff, you had that put there. Where's the Weaver jersey?
Hey, coming soon
57.
to a bar near you.
Because it needs to be up in here. We need to make sure they at least put a Citadel football schedule up in here before the season starts. But anyway, I'm going to come on for all of you watching just for a moment and thank Kyle, thank Jeff, and we'll wrap this thing up.
All right. Welcome back to the Citadel GrayLine radio talk show. In this segment, we're going to be joined by the founder of this show and the guy who's really behind it all, John Rawl. He is incredible doing a lot of these shows, but the Citadel show is near and dear to his heart. He is a Citadel grad as well, and he's been doing this show with Jeff for a long time, and I appreciate him getting me involved, and hopefully we'll be able to bring a good experience to you guys this year, informing you guys on some Citadel stuff. John, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Jeff. We've been doing the show since 2008. As you mentioned earlier, we'll be celebrating our 250th episode of this show on homecoming week, and so we're going to try to have a big party.
Right.
So get ready, Charleston, for the blowout of the Citadel GrayLine's 250th episode. But show even better. I mean, we've had a great time, and hey, when you win 2 back-to-back conference championships, it makes this show a lot more enjoyable than the 3 and 7 and 8 years we were going through, Jeff.
We suffered for a while.
Yeah, we did.
But had a segment on what's wrong.
Yeah, and we hope with our new home, with our new setup, that it's going to be even better. And of course, having someone like you who played for the Bulldogs recently and got these little gems in front of us, that is a really neat little added bonus of this show, and hopefully everything will work out great. And if it doesn't, we'll go back to Plan B. But I think it's going to work great.
Awesome.
So congratulations. Trying to make this show even bigger and better. It's like the state fair or the fair, bigger and better every year.
There we go.
That's right.
Well, what we want to talk about next is this week's game. I mean, everybody's ready for it. Everybody's talking about it. We're playing Newberry this week, and I feel like Jeff might have the most knowledge about this. Tell us a little bit about Newberry. Maybe I've heard they had some great success in the last few seasons. Tell us about that and just what to expect, going into this week.
They have. Newberry won 10 games last year, won their conference championship on the Division II level, made the playoffs, but did not make a deep playoff run. Their quarterback, I think, was suspended for their playoff opener, and he was probably the best quarterback in Newberry history. They also lost a running back from Ashley Ridge High School, Romello Doctor, who was a great player for the Wolves. But they have plenty of guys from the Low Country on their team. Baptiste Staggers played quarterback at Fort Dorchester before DeCarrion Joyner, and he's now a 6'4", 230-pound tight end, probably the best tight end in their league.
Right.
They have a running back from St. John's High School, Darius Clark, who's going to have about 100 people at the game. They have a defensive lineman from Somerville, Josh Spigner, offensive lineman from West Ashley, Wade Rouse. So a lot of Low Country guys on Todd Knight's team, and they'll be coming in. This will be like the South Carolina game was for the Citadel. This is their Super Bowl, their chance to make a mark, to beat a Division I team. And so they'll be fired up on Saturday.
Yeah, and, I mean, they produce a lot of NFL for a D2 program. I mean, they're one of those guys one of those programs who put out guys routinely.
Ron Cooper, I think his name is, defensive back with the Chiefs, and, of course, Edmund Robinson, who played right here at St. John's High School and was almost a Citadel Bulldog.
Yeah.
Ended up going to Newberry and is playing with the Vikings. I saw him on TV the other night. What a great athlete.
Right.
And a great person Edmund Robinson is. And then Corey Washington from North Charleston High School has been up and down with a couple of teams in the NFL. So they put guys in the league.
Now, did this coach ever face off against our coaching staff at Lenore Ryan?
They sure did,
okay.
Yeah. And he was telling me Lenore Ryan, Brevard, and one other team ran similar offenses.
So they're very familiar.
Very familiar with Mike
plan.
Houston, with Brent Thompson, and the whole triple option thing. They're very familiar with that. So that'll be no surprise to Newberry coming in. So, Citadel's a heavy favorite, as they should be, but they should also be aware.
Right. And trust me, those coaches aren't going to let anything slide.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to, let those guys, let them know how good Newberry is and maybe build it up. So when we played Davison the other year, and they came out with how many All-Americans Davison had. We ended up, having a good game against that and handling them pretty easily, but they built it up, and we believed it. And by the end of how many times we heard it, we believed how good they were, and, maybe to our own fault. But,
I covered this, but the other week he made. Did you mention this earlier?
We talked about it. The second best team in the state. That's a pretty subjective opinion, but there's a little question. The Citadel and Charleston Southern, they've won back-to-back titles as well, have been the second most successful teams in the state behind Clemson over the last few years.
And we'll find out who the best team is in the state come November 18th.
And
it's going to be the good guys.
Who will be favored in that one? So.
We've had a great off season, and we've got a lot planned for this show this fall. And I want to thank Joel Thompson. You may remember his name if you're in the Citadel world. Joel is working with us here at CRM Sports as our offensive coordinator. That's the title he has. And so Joel was a great defensive standout in the Tom Moore era in the 1980s. Played football and baseball at El Cid, and so Joel is helping on this show in the background just like me. So we're excited about that. For all of you Citadel grads from the 80s, Joel's involved. I'm from the 90s, and we got this young guy here. So we're all Citadel all the time here on Citadel GrayLine.
Well, thanks for having us back this year, and for me the first time, and we look forward to seeing everybody next week. Please turn on to Facebook Live or any of these radio stations that we mentioned earlier, and we look forward to this weekend's game. We'll see you guys out there, and we'll see you guys next week.
Also want to say a special thank you to Charleston Sports Pub. In fact, the manager here is Alan Bebensey. Does the name Bebensey mean anything to you, Kyle?
Not off my top of my head.
He's one of the provosts at the Citadel. Been there for over 40 years. And he was the dean of the business school for the time that I was there in the early 90s. Really went out of his way to help me and so many other cadets. I just found out from his son Alan, who's the manager here at the Mount Pleasant location, that Colonel Bebensey, I guess that's what his rank still is in SCUM, he is retiring this year. So we want to get maybe Alan Bebensey Charleston Sports Pub to see his son and to hang out with you all.
Awesome. That would be great. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.